So if you can't move the fence, then what can you do? Second major way to resolve this is money. You might say, look, buying the property, but if you tell me that I now don't have, access to that strip of land, I'm not paying you $500,000, I'm paying you $480, and you renegotiate, and you cut a deal for $480, and you say, okay, I lost the use of that strip of land. I'll live with it. The title company is not going to ensure to me that I have legal right, legal use and access to that strip. I'll live without it. Again, probably not so likely, although it may happen. Third major way that these things can be resolved is what's called a boundary line agreement. A boundary line agreement is a very interesting document. It's an agreement have nothing to do with you, the buyer. It's between the seller and the neighbor. Seller and the neighbor sign an agreement called the boundary line agreement that says just a couple of things. It's a really simple, straightforward agreement. But there's some magic language that has to be in there, and there's some magic things that have to happen with the document to make it effective. Seller and neighbor enter into a document that says, I, neighbor, recognize that my fence, deck, swimming pool, whatever it might be, is on your property. I also recognize, by virtue of it being on your property, that I'm not, that I can't claim any right, title, interest, and I have not acquired any right, title, or interest in your property, right? I.e., for the purposes of me and you who watch this program, they're not going to be able to acquire that property by adverse possession. Although it doesn't say that in the agreement, that's what that means. Okay. Third thing is, if you ever ask me, neighbor, if you ever ask the neighbor to take the fence down in the future, I'll do it. And the fourth thing, an extremely important thing, is this document, quote unquote, runs with the land. What does that mean? We probably all remember that phrase from law school. Runs with the land means that this document is binding upon all future successor owners of both properties, of both properties. If that document, just like an easement, runs with the land, and unless it has a termination date in it, an easement goes on forever and ever until terminated by both the benefited and burdened party to the easement. Same with the thing here. This boundary line agreement runs with the land. And if this document is properly drafted with some of that language that's described, containing some of the magic words, again, not genius words, but key words that have to be in there, and if this document is then recorded, very, very important, recorded in the county clerk's office, it runs with the land, we now, as the title company, will look at it and say, you know what, you do have full legal use and access to the property, because with this boundary line agreement, we know that you're fully protected. If the boundary line agreement is properly drafted and is properly recorded, we will now remove that exception to the title insurance policy from Schedule B of the policy. Again, I'll talk about Schedule B coming up. It is no longer a problem with us, and we will now ensure to you that you have full legal use and access to the property. So it's a very, very good and effective means of resolving these problems where fences or something else might be on your property. A boundary line agreement, again, is a fairly simple document. I have one. I have many versions of it. If anybody watching this program would like a copy of one, a sample to use, just shoot me an email. I'm mark@markisrael.com. It's M-A-R-C is how I spell my first name. So it's MARCISRAEL.com. Shoot me an email. I'll be happy to email you back the boundary line agreement. I might as well say, as long as I'm giving out my email address, that email me anything you want. I mean, I do a lot of these classes live and obviously take a lot of questions. I make sure in all my live programs that's a lot of back and forth, and I answer questions, during the program, after the program. People call and email all the time with questions. I'm happy to do the same with you. Obviously, we can't have the live back and forth in a pre-recorded, program like this, but shoot me an email, give me a call. All my information is on the screen.